happy WrestleMania Eve to those who celebrate. This is your pro wrestling news for Friday, April 17th, 2026. Former usher at WrestleMania 9, Nick Kahn, did an interview this week talking about ticket prices and how the market determines ticket prices. Now, his issue was the secondary ticket markets are making so much money off of WWE tickets being resold on those markets that is money WWE should be making. I'm sure he knows, just like we all know, that the majority of those secondary markets are owned by the big ticket companies like Ticketmaster and whatever else you use. Ticketmaster owns so many different ticket outlets. The ticket industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's no doubt about that. Nick Kahn, WWE, Triple H, TKO, those guys are in charge of their own. They could sell tickets wherever they want to sell tickets at, but they know they can't hurt the multi-billion-dollar industry that is the ticket industry, because then that ticket industry will hurt them, and they don't want to do that. And unfortunately, the fans are the ones getting hurt by it. I'm sick of hearing the excuses on why the ticket prices are so high. They just keep making excuses. You're charging more than you used to for ticket prices. That's what it is. Amari Animal, or whatever his name is, whatever, The Rock's old agent, said that Vince marketed this thing towards families, and that's not what they're marketing it towards. Vince wanted to make it affordable for a family to go out and watch a show. And that's not their priority anymore. That's all he had to say. There's nobody has to make any more excuses. That's it. That is it. Stop making other excuses. Just say that. He already did. He already told us. Now, I mean, what else do you need to say? Jey Uso did a podcast with Cameron and Mace. Cameron, who I do not know. Mace I know because I was a Biggie fan and a Tupac fan, so I know Mace. Cameron immediately starts disrespecting Jey Uso. Jey Uso ends up attacking him during the podcast and beating him up. I don't know if this means that Cameron is going to be wrestling at WrestleMania 43 next year now. Probably be a main event. Probably take an hour and a half to walk to the ring. I don't know what they plan on doing, but I watched it. I thought it was poorly done. I thought it was poorly executed. But to each their own. We just talked about them being a billion-dollar corporation. They could do whatever they want to. My guess is somebody's sitting in a creative meeting and they're talking about what they're going to do, and then somebody else sitting over there goes, "Oh, you know what would be a good idea," and they're like, "Yeah, let's do that. What we think will be a good idea." Whatever. Cody Rhodes did an interview this week where he said anything and everything is on the table for WrestleMania 42, which includes a heel turn. We're not going to get a heel turn from Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. This isn't much of a pro wrestling news as something that I just thought about this week. I watched an old Frankie Munez interview where he talked about Malcolm in the Middle and filming Malcolm in the Middle. He had never watched the show from beginning to end, or watched the show at all. He just filmed his stuff and then he left. He wasn't even there when other characters filmed episodes. So he never got to appreciate the show. Around 2018, 2019, him and his wife sat down and watched the entire series. And he mentions how much he loved it and how much he didn't realize what other characters brought to that show. Because if he was in a scene with them and they said something and it didn't make sense to him, he didn't care to ask about what it was. But now, looking back on it, he really appreciated some of those other characters that he didn't think at the time brought much to the show. And that always makes me think about when I talk to wrestlers about shows and I tell them what I thought of the show, and they completely disagree with me. They completely disagree with how they felt about the show or how they think the show went, when they're not watching the show. They're watching bits and pieces of it or watching their friends or whatever, but they're not watching the whole show put together. And that made a lot more sense to me now, because before I'd be like, how could they not like this? Or how could they not enjoy this part of the show? Or how are they mad that that was on the show or this person was on the show? And it made me realize they're not watching that part of the show. They're not enjoying it. They don't like that person, so they're not going to watch them. So to them, that person brings nothing to the show. But it's important to notice that even though you may not like something, or you may not enjoy somebody, or even like somebody personally, it doesn't mean that they don't bring any value to the show. Happy WrestleMania Eve to those who celebrate. This has been your pro wrestling news for Friday, April 17th, 2026.